In this lecture, we will set up a machine running Ubuntu server. As earlier mentioned, we have few options. Some cloud provider offer an Ubuntu server image that you can deploy and get running quickly. Like Azure, Amazon, other offer Ubuntu server of various versions. Or we can install Ubuntu server on our own virtual machine or on real hardware. There are quite few different ways to do this. It's all depending on the environment and the software and hardware you have available. I will install Ubuntu server in VirtualBox here on my local machine in order to make portable server that I can have available when I want. I just mentioned by default, if you go to Microsoft Store in Windows 10, you can also download Ubuntu 18.04, but if you are deploying to a physical host in a data center or some kind of system like VMware or Hyper-V, you will need to go through the installation steps that relate to that environment. Go with any option, we need an installer. So let's go to ubuntu.com as you can see on the screen and download Ubuntu server. I will click on server here at the top, and on the next page I will click the button to download the installation image. Then I will click again to download, and I will click OK to save the file on your state directory. And this will take a few minutes depending on the speed of your internet connection. Once it's downloaded, we can use software like Rofus to create a USB installer, or we can use the image directly to install it in a virtual machine. As the ISO image, if you want to learn about create an installer, take a look at first chapter of my course on Ubuntu Desktop Basics, where I go through the details of the process for various platforms. This is free course on Udemy. If you want to set up a virtual machine on your system, make sure to install the software now. As I mentioned, I will be using VirtualBox because it's free and it's available for Windows, Mac and Linux host. If you are not familiar with VirtualBox, be sure to take look on my course Learning VirtualBox. Here in the VirtualBox Manager, I will create a new machine as you can see on the screen. I will call it my Ubuntu server and make sure that the 64-bit version is selected. I will give it a gigabyte of RAM and I will click through to give it a 100 gigabyte hard drive. Depending on your need, you may want to add more RAM or more storage or something like that. In my case, I am going to add this machine to my virtual network, and then I will attach the installation media that I downloaded earlier. As you can see, under the IDE controller, I will click on the empty slot and browse to my download folder. I will choose the ISO image and click open. And then I will start up my machine. The Ubuntu server installer is a text-based environment, so we will need at least a display and a keyboard on a physical machine to install it manually. I can move around the installer with tab and with the arrow keys using enter to select options. I will select my language here and I move to the next screen. Then I can press tab to change my keyboard and enter to open a menu. This is set how I want, so I will press escape and I will tab down to done. Here I am giving the option to install Ubuntu server or to install a tool for preventing servers in automated setting. And we will take a look at that later on. For now, I will choose to install Ubuntu. The next screen goes over network setting and I can select my Ethernet adapter up here, which is called ENP0S3. As you can see on the screen, I will press enter and make changes like setting a static address. I will press spacebar to choose that option, and then I am taken to a network configuration screen. As you can see on the screen, usually you will want a server to have a static IP address so client can reliably connect to it. Then I will fill in a gateway and add a name server. Then I will tap down to save and press enter. I will tap down to done, and then we go. I will continue through the installer. I can set proxy information if I need to connect through a proxy, but I don't have this time. So I will move on, and then we come to the partitioning of the disk. If I need to, I can set up a custom partitioning scheme, but here in this virtual machine I will use the whole disk and let the installer take care of partitioning. If you need to make more advanced changes to your partition table, you may need to use the different version of the installer. After that, the installation starts and I am prompted to configure a user for myself on the server and to set the system's host name. As you can see on the screen, I will call this machine Ubuntu. Of course, if you are deploying a production server or server as part of an organization, you will want the host name to be something that follows to your organization naming scheme. Sometimes this will need to line up with a fully qualified domain name for the server. So be sure to double check. I will create a username and I will choose a password. I can also import an SSH key if I want to use that to connect instead of a password. I will choose done, and then I can view a summary of what the installer is doing. Once the installation is done, I can choose to reboot now. The first time the server startup, it will generate some keys. Then I am presented with a console login prompt. I will type my name and then type my password. Let's explore our new server. So we done.